This is the most important truck comparison of 2026. I have both middle class trucks here. I would have had a Chevy here, but unfortunately this time didn't work out today. But regardless, this is a 2026 Ram 2500 Black Express alongside the 2026, on quotations, Ford F250 STX. Now this one I have here is a 2025, but I'm going to show you pricing for 2026 simply because I want to just kind of make this apples to apples. I borrowed these trucks from the Ken Garff Automotive Group here in West Valley, Utah. Both of these trucks are available for sale. Let's go ahead and check out the window stickers so you guys can see some of the options and features, and then I'm going to take you guys around them. Now this is considered the Black Express. This is a new trim package for the HD segment. Base price is $52,230 plus that $2,495 customer preferred package, which is the Black Express. Now this one does have fifth wheel prep package, and it has the level 1 equipment group for the tradesman, for a total price with destination at $74,165. This is an incoming truck here. It's a 2026 Ford. It has the gas engine, however, but the base price is $52,690. Now that STX appearance package is going to be $3,115. So with all the options on this truck, it's $60,410. However, if you were getting the diesel, you have to add an additional $12,995 to this package price here. Where do we begin? There's so much to unpack because there is a clear winner here, and I'll go over that here in a second. But if you're looking at the Black Express Ram, you have a $54,725 price. For the Ford with the STX package, it's $55,805. That's not including destination, so just keep that in mind. That's $25,995 additional for both trucks. The Ram has an advantage of $1,080 for the price. Now, here's where things get a little sophisticated. For 2026, Ford decided they wanted to make the STX package cheaper. Therefore, now you have to opt for the 360 camera view, and then you have like a XL driver assistance package, I believe, that gives you a few other things too. Because of that, this would have had the advantage because the package just had better features, right? Now, both trucks, you guys can see, maybe you don't know, LED headlights are going to come standard with the STX package. And on the Ram, whether you get a tradesman or this, you get LED headlights. However, 360 camera ain't available on Black Express, but that is an additional cost now for 2026 for the Ford truck. Now, as far as styling goes, as I said earlier, these are the new middle class trucks because today people want to feel like they have success, right? And when you have painted bumpers, blackout on the wheels, it looks like you have a high trim level truck. Whereas these are really just entry level, because if you see the interiors, which you'll see in a second, they're work trucks. Finishing up on the front end, you do see the Ram does have front parking sensors and adaptive cruise control. The Ford does not. You cannot get front parking sensors on this truck. Moving off to the side, you have 20-inch wheels on the Ram, wrapped in Firestone tires. On the Ford, you have the Bridgestone tires with an 18-inch wheel. Now, I'm not going to say the Ram wins because it has bigger wheels. It just depends on what you're looking for. I personally like 18s now. I would like to see an option for an 18-inch wheel for the Ram trucks, if I'm being honest here. And maybe for some people, they might prefer the 20s for the Ford trucks. Now, if you move up to an XLT trim, that would become available for their Black appearance package. All the badging on the STX trucks can be blacked out. Same thing goes for the Ram. Now you guys do see here, this truck does have a sport performance hood. That does come standard. It's not functional here, but it does have heat extractors on both sides of the hood. Ford does not have that available, and I would say for me personally, it does add a lot of flair to the Ram trucks for sure. Now Now, as far as the mirrors go, Ram's going to win this because you have power, power, power. You have power convex, you have power tow mode, you have power folding, and you guys will see right here, here's all the controls for that. And you have the lighting too. Ford hasn't caught up yet. They do have the lighting here. However, you don't have the power for the convex, and as a matter of fact, you don't have power even for tow mode or power folding because it's not available for this truck. That is a big fail on Ford's part because they do have really good tow mirrors. Now, as far as smart key system goes, not available for either truck, and you guys, we'll go over the powertrains here in a second. Now, here's where Ford does win against that Ram over there. If you're looking at a standard bed pickup truck, you do have a standard 34-gallon fuel tank, 7.4-gallon DEF. The Ram, on the other hand, has a 31-gallon fuel tank and a 7.5-gallon DEF tank. So those 3 extra gallons make a big difference, especially if you're towing. Now, something else I like on the Ford truck is you do have the leaf pack out back. So you have 3 leaves in that main pack there, E-coated frame. Ram also has an E-coated frame, however, they do utilize coils for the suspension. So obviously because of that, this truck's gonna ride slightly better. They both have solid front axles. Now you guys see the fixed running boards too. That is an option for the Ford, but on the Black Express it does come part of that package. Out back, you guys will see Ram does give you a step on the driver's side. However, Ford gives you the steps on the side of the bed. I personally like this better. I like the steps. I know some people say it looks terrible. No, it doesn't. It looks like a truck. That's what it looks like. Out back, you guys see who wins. I know that Ford is more boxy. Ram has a little bit more lines, a little bit more curves, but I would say it's a wash for the rear. Now here's where Ford is going to win at. Bed size. You have a 6-foot 7.5-inch bed compared to a 6-foot 4-inch bed, and you can probably see it from the camera. Look at how tall that tailgate is compared to the Ram. So the bed height inside is a little bit shorter compared to the Ford. You have more space, it's a little bit deeper. It's just a better setup all the way around. Now these trucks both have 5th wheel prep package, so there's no really clear winner there. Bed light, also on this side you have bed lights. Now if you take a peek down below, right here, you'll see spare, and you have a 342 rear with an anti-spin. One thing that Ram does give you is LED license plate lights. Unless you get a high trim level on the Ford, you just get these standard incandescent bulbs. Both trucks have a Class 5 hitch. However, Ford, there's your spare Bridgestone tire. You have the option to get the 355 with the locker. You also have the 331, which comes standard, and you can get the locker too. That is a big advantage for some people. Even in the snow, I like the idea of the locker because sometimes if you have that on, you don't even have to turn in the full-wheel drive because sometimes having both wheels spin at the same time gets you out of that snow. You guys see right here, no defrost, no power sliding glass. However, you do have a bed view camera right there. On the Ram side, you have tinted glass along with the defrost with the power sliding glass, no bed view camera. Now, here's what I'll tell you. You have to get the Tradesman Level 1 equipment group to get that. You can get the power sliding glass with defrost as a standalone option for the Ford. I like that because if you want that, you got to spend basically $2,000. It's expensive. When it comes down to the powertrains, on paper Ford wins. It's not even a conversation because you have more options, you have more horsepower and torque. Especially whether you look at gas or diesel, Ford wins. For simplicity, the Ram wins because you have 2 diesel options and you have 2 gasoline options. Now, you have a standard output power stroke, which this truck has. It's going to have 475 horsepower, 1,050 pound-feet of torque. I would not go up to the high output, simply because if you're looking to buy a truck like this, it's all about pricing, right? And that's more than enough power compared to the Ram's Cummins, which is 430 horsepower, 1,075 pound-feet of torque. So Ford has the horsepower advantage, Ram has a torque advantage there. Now here's the thing, inline 6 versus V8. The inline 6 has its obvious benefits, less moving parts. That inline 6 design is more balanced compared to a V8. However, your stroke is longer, which means you can't RPM as much as this Ford's power stroke. So at the end of the day, I think for simplicity, the Ram wins that. But yes, the Ford definitely has the Ram outgunned as of right now. There's no comparison there. But that new 8-speed in this Ram truck, guys, oh my goodness. That alone is testament to Ram fixing things along the way. Now, as far as the 10 speeds go in the Ford, I don't think that they're bad. I don't hear a lot of people complain about them. On the GM side of things, they're not that great. I own one. But for the Ford, the 10R, actually, hold on, this is a F250, so this doesn't have the 10R 140. This has the 10R 100. So you have to go up to a high output, I believe, to get the 10R 140 basically. But I would say though, the 10R 100 is probably going to be equally as reliable as the 10R 140. But I would say that if I were looking for peace of mind and reliability, the Ram probably wins. Now the Ram does have a CP8, which is basically a renamed CP4. This truck still has a CP4. So I guess the clear takeaway from this is there's just so much information, right? Just get what you want, because either way you go, you're gonna have to do extra for the fuel because there's no sulfur there. And I would say that with Ram, you can go 15,000 miles on oil change. I don't recommend you do that. On Ford, I believe they say 10,000, I think, on theirs. They use a 10W30, just like the Rams. So just go with the one you want, because at the end of the day, they're both good diesel engines. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. And I don't think there's a clear winner, because horsepower and torque is one thing, but the exhaust brake, that's where the Ram wins. So when it comes down to it, I think I'd pick the Cummins still. And maybe I'm just biased. I like the idea of the straight 6. But for the sheer power performance, Ford's gonna win that 100%. And yeah, for most people, they're probably gonna take that engine because it is more reliable in terms of like what we know about it. This is considered a new Cummins, so we have to wait and see how well it does in the next couple years against what Ford has pretty much proven to be reliable, which is the standard output power stroke. For me, the Ford interior is subpar. I'm just being honest, simply because of the lighter color. I would like to see if they refresh this truck for 2027. I would like to see this lighter color roof go away. And here's what I'll tell you. All you have to do is go to a work truck model and look up where your hands would normally go. When that sun is bright, you're gonna pull this down and your hands are gonna be all over this, which means you're gonna have dirty hands. All this is gonna be nasty, grimy looking. And I just don't think that their design is that great. Now let's go ahead and check out the Ram. I want you guys to notice how much bigger the door is, however, on the Ford. It's a clear size advantage, which means the cab is going to be bigger. Now, you see here, you have black interior. Now, this is considered a work truck, right? And a work truck should have a darker interior because it just looks better over time when it gets dirty. Now, you guys just see on that Ford, you did have a lumbar support for the driver's seat. That's not available for the Ram. However, the Ram does have the advantage of tilt headrest. I like that. Something else the Ram has that you cannot get on that STX is push button start. Ready for this? You gotta put a key in the ignition. And I know some people say, I don't care about that. That doesn't really matter. Well, it does matter. You have to come looking for your keys, right? Now on the Ram, you guys see neither truck does have remote start. Tilt and telescoping steering wheel is here, but not on the Ram. This cab is much larger. I'm not even going to even make an argument for the Ram. The Ram is a disappointment still. They should have already updated their cabs. And the Ford, if you're someone that has older kids, I would go off of just that alone. if you're looking at these true trim levels, because you can't get the mega cab in the Black Express, which means it does kind of force you to get the Ford. And something else the Ford has over the Ram is 60/40 bench out back. If you look at the Ram, you don't have that option. This all goes up like that. So if you need one of the seats up, you just don't have the availability to do that. And you don't have a flat floor surface either. So that's where the mega cab comes in. If that were in the conversation, it'd be a toss up for me. Neither truck had an armrest. This truck does not have seat back pockets either. You guys see down there, you just have air vents, no power down below, but you guys saw on the Ford, you did have the power, just a 12 volt and 2 Type-C USBs. No seat back pockets either on this truck, because these are considered work trucks. Now, as we step inside the Ram, let me just put my bag out back real quickly. As I mentioned earlier, adaptive cruise control. I do like the gauge cluster layout here, but the big advantage on the Ram is you have the option to get the 12-inch display. You do not have an option to upgrade the Fords. And if you look at it dollar for dollar, the Ram's going to give you more for the money. But the reality is, I think that the Ford has a big advantage over the truck we haven't talked about. We'll talk about it here in a second. But cup holders, storage, more USBs. They have a ton of USBs for this truck. You also have a 115 volt power plug right there. Let's just start up really quickly. I like this screen too because it gives you a ton of information. You guys see, you can get a larger screen here. It's a 7-inch cluster, and that would really just rein in the advantages there. But yeah, this is definitely better. Their backup camera is right there. Auto dimming mirror. However, you have incandescent bulbs. No mirror on this side. However, you do have one with a cover on this side. No lights, however. Hopefully you guys see that now. Hold on one second. Let me find that key. There it is. I'm just kidding. I have to pick on Ford a little bit for that. I would like to see push button start come standard. Now here is the layout here, and it's nice. Ford has a nice little screen here, and they do have great information. For example, if you go down to their measurements, they give you all the temperatures. This is something new from 2023 plus trucks too. Great layout, easy to read, home screen, speedometer, trip information. Again, Ford has really nice stuff. I even like the fact that they give you the turbo boost up there. You can actually put that in the screen on the Ram side, but this right here is all you get. 360 camera view is available. Now remember, for 2026, it's an option, so you have to pay extra for that, separate from the STX package. No dual climate control, no heated seats, no heated steering wheel. You have less USBs, and this is pretty nice. I like that Ford locks this in, and they give you a headrest too for that middle seat here up front. You don't have this in the Ram. No bottom seat storage. This is a big deal for me. I like that. Now on the Ford, you do have LED lights for the interior, not so for that Ram. On this side, no vanity, but you do have one right there on the Ford. Both trucks have the open storage, 12 volt, 120 volt power plug versus a 115 on the Ram, which I don't know why they don't just go to 120. I don't know. Let's go ahead and discuss why the Ford is a clear winner here. Right here. You see this? F250. If you want that to say F350, you have that option. On the Ram side of the house, 2500. If you want the Black Express, you only can get it in a 3/4 ton. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Most people looking to buy an HD truck is probably after payload capacity, axle rating out back. Why wouldn't this truck be available for a 1 ton? The dumbest thing Ram ever did. I don't know why they did that, and hopefully they fix that. So as far as the numbers go on the door, it gets worse. So these are both 3/4 tons. Let's start off with the axle rating. So up front, 5750 is that front gross axle rating. Out back is 6,000 pounds. Now they did thankfully raise the gross vehicle rating for 2025 plus trucks. So 11,040 pounds is the number here. For the Ford, they do have a slightly higher rating here at 5,990 pounds. But that rear gross axle rating is 6,340 pounds. And don't be fooled. That may not seem like a lot of weight advantage, 340 pounds, but it is. Now the gross vehicle rating is 10,600 pounds, and you have 3,169 pounds of capacity for your payload. Tire pressure is 60 out front, 65 in the rear. For the Ram, 3,040 pounds, 65 psi for the tire pressure all the way around. I would call that a wash. They're so close, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, the Ford has more, but now that Ram has raised that gross vehicle rating, they're in the conversation now of payload. But again, if you need more payload, you could just go to the 1 ton, which is not available for the Ram, but you have to go for the Ford. And that's why I think the Ford won this. Not because of just that, but larger cab, larger bed, those things make sense when you're looking at a HD Super Duty pickup truck. But I would say for the appearance, for some of the available features and pricing, Ram is going to win that all day long, 100%. If you're looking at pricing, look no further than here, because you're going to have more incentives right out of the gate, and I think you can get more for the money. Now if you're looking at gas engines, man, you guys saw you have 2 options for that Ford. So that's why I think with the advantage of the 1 ton, larger cab and bed, it's really hard to give Ram a win when the Ford clearly has more availability for stuff, and they just have more horsepower and torque across the board when it comes down to their engine. So yeah, I think the Ford STX is the clear winner here. And who knows, if Ram gets their act together, they'll at least add a 1 ton availability for the Black Express and the Mega Cab. I just think it would make a ton of sense, especially if someone's looking to cross shop them with this. Now obviously with that, if you add the Mega Cab, it's going to add a lot more money, because the Mega Cab comes standard with 4-wheel drive. These 2 trucks both come standard with 2-wheel drive. So that's something else you have to consider. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I try my hardest to show you as much as I can and answer questions for you. But let me know you guys' thoughts in the comment section, because sometimes you guys are just as helpful as I am. Hence why I think that you guys need to speak up more if you own these trucks, right? If you've had the STX, maybe you are looking at a Black Express, let us know in the comment section below of your thoughts. See you guys in the next video.